Since you haven't seen it, it's kind of hard to introduce it. So, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about just kind of the state of the VR fitness industry and some of the high level benefits. Not everybody has looked at it. In fact, I'm not an expert on VR fitness. My expertise is in location based VR. And so I wanted to really understand this better. And so what I did is I went out to the market and said, who are the leaders in this space? Who are people really that understand it the best? And so I went out and talked to Sonia Haskins, who writes for VR Fitness Insider, Dr. Jimmy Bagley, who's the associate professor of exercise. He's got a PhD in exercise and muscle physiology. And he actually works with Aaron Stanton, who's the director of the VR Institute of Health. And I also spent some time with Six Live, who's a 3 times VR founder who founded the mixed reality software Live, and then also went on to co-found a company called Your. And there's the dog; it never fails. So, I love live events.
No problem. We love
and so. And so we're going to talk a little bit to them, and I asked them to join. And so I recorded some video, and we'll talk with them. We'll bring them in at different parts. But I wanted to start out with Sonia, because it's the reality is that virtual reality is already changing lives when it comes to being active and fitness.
VR, in terms of fitness, has absolutely changed my life, like completely 100%. Because before I started, I was on maybe a dozen medications a day. I'd been in a wheelchair the year before. I've had so many surgeries and had a lot of health problems. And now, since I started doing VR, I take no medication. I obviously am walking. I still play in a chair because my legs hurt sometimes because I have a lot of damage in my abdominal and leg area, my pelvic area. But other than that, I really, truly think if I hadn't started doing this, it makes me tear up to think where I might be. It makes a huge difference when you find something that you can do that has you so engaged that you forget you need to go take your pain medicine.
And that's a really powerful testimony. And I think this all started with Beat Saber. And I want to make sure we recognize what happened here. Beat Saber was really the first game. And it wasn't designed to be a fitness game, but it turned out to be a fitness game.
And there were stories of people losing, 40 pounds playing Beat Saber.
Beat Saber was an amazing, I think it literally saved lives. The Beat Saber is both an incredibly popular game and also a physically active one.
And to date, it's been measured that Beat Saber has burned almost 5 billion calories, which is like sprinting to the moon 140 times and back, if you could actually sprint to the moon. Now, Chris Milk, who's the CEO of Within, he's one of the most famous XR directors, VR directors in the world. He started a new company a few years ago called Within, and they developed a game called Supernatural. And he said the fundamental flaw of most fitness systems is that at the core, you're not doing something that's fun. Pedaling on a stationary bike, running on a treadmill, the core loop, as we would call it in gaming, isn't really fun. And Six talks about this.
Right. So you go out and you play football and you do conventional sports and you're losing weight and you're becoming physical, but the emphasis is on the fun and entertainment aspect of it, or the social aspect, and not on the fact that you're exercising.
And so Black Box VR, a company that's based in Boise, Idaho, they opened their first location in San Francisco, has done an amazing job of creating a VR gym. And when I first heard about this, I was super freaking skeptical. I'm like, nobody's gonna wanna work out with a VR headset on it. But what they've done is they've really gone deep into creating a game that's really distracting, that's really motivating, that gives you all of those kind of core loop things that apply addicting game technology, which most people would say isn't necessarily a good thing, into something positive that helps you get fit. Check this out. Now, another reason that VR fitness works so well is you actually have a lower perception of pain, right? Part of the reason we don't want to work out is, and we don't get that max rep, is we just kind of, our brains give up just short of full exertion.
When we had our first study that got published in 2018, we were measuring how hard people felt like they were working and then how hard they were actually working. So let's say you're working at a level of walking 6 miles an hour on a treadmill or jogging 6 miles an hour on a treadmill. We had people actually do that, and they rated their experience in VR as much easier. They thought it was easier than it was actually.
Now, there's also this, we've all experienced this time distortion in virtual reality, right? Where, we put on a headset and we totally lose track of time. And we do it in gaming too. Well, just last month, researchers at the University of California, Santa Cruz, did some research on virtual reality gaming versus 2D gaming. And what they found is that gamers thought they were in a 5-minute game 72 seconds longer than they actually were when they played the same game in VR. Now, and that's compared to gaming, which already has a time distortion field. When you think about exercising versus doing it in VR, that time distortion is massive. So actually, it gives us an incentive to spend more time in VR than we would spend in the gym, which is super powerful. And now the other thing that we're finding is it's actually, the technology is actually going to make it, or is already making it, more effective than a gym.
In the United States, the average gym membership pays $39 a month and doesn't go. We have plenty of data now to show that VR can be as good as almost any form of exercise equipment in the gym, depending on the game you're playing.
Our lab can tell you if you're exercising or not, because we actually measure oxygen consumption, the air that you breathe in and breathe out. If you take the differential between the oxygen that you breathe in versus what you breathe out, it can tell you what % your muscles are using, and we can actually get kind of a calorie burn number. So we can say you burned 100 calories in the last 20 minutes or whatever.
And so one of the beautiful things about VR is it's going to, but we have to break the stigma, but it's going to make people fit without them even knowing it. Like, we've already got evidence of that. And as VR becomes the next big gaming platform, which it's going to be, right? Just 2 weeks ago, John Riccitello, who's the CEO of Unity and the former CEO of Electronic Arts, basically predicted that by the end of this decade, there'll be as many VR headsets as there are gaming consoles, which I think is like 240 or 250 million. And so VR is going to be the next gaming platform. We're already seeing evidence of that. The trends are up. The hockey stick is starting. And so that's going to happen. And so people are going to be getting fit playing video games, which is really cool because we need it, because gamers struggle. There's a definite tie between gaming and obesity.
Modern gaming is directly correlated with obesity and diabetes and all these really big issues. How do you get a modern gamer to exercise?
There's a poster that the British Heart Association put out years ago that I saw, and it's the picture of this like 7 or 8 year old kid sitting with a game controller in his hand, and the headline was just "Risk early death, just do nothing." That is the mental image that we've been kind of ingraining into the health industries years and years and years. That like the opposite of being healthy and active and outdoorsy and kind of socially engaged is to sit in your basement and play World of Warcraft as if those social connections don't matter to you.
And so I think VR is really going to help break the stigma of gaming and fitness and bring that, that divide that he was talking about in together. And I think we're going to see a whole new generation of kids and people playing games in VR, staying healthy, staying fit. And I think it's a really great example. Like, there's a lot of areas that I have concern about VR and Facebook and advertising and addiction, but it's good to spend a little bit of time talking about the positives of virtual reality and how it's going to change fitness and gaming. And so, that's my view of the VR fitness world. I think we've got a really good group of presentations coming up, and then a killer panel at the end of this section. So let me throw it back to whoever's in the studio. I feel like I'm doing a remote TV broadcast.
Thanks, Bob. Many thanks.
My pleasure.
It's quite incredible to hear that VR sport saves life. from medical people. It's quite incredible to hear that now. If you have any question, as you see, session will be in English, but if you want to ask question in French or in English, no problem. Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Come on, if you, we have a microphone, please. It could be. We have a question, Bob.
Thank you, Philippe Guillotel, Interdigital. So very interesting talk. Thank you for that. I'm also convinced that VR is a good way to do sports and stimulate people to do it. But as you know, there are several technological issues. One of them is the headset. The tracking is another one, etc., etc. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? What is your vision about the future? Would it be evolved? Would it be solved in the near future? Thank you.
Yeah, look, I think we're still in day one, right? Of VR. It's the some people think the Oculus Quest was the iPhone moment, and the iPhone was over 10 years ago, and look at where smartphones are now. And so the technology is developing. Like just 2 years ago, you needed cameras everywhere. And now all of a sudden you don't need cameras. The inside out, SLAM tracking has gotten good enough to eliminate that need. And now you're seeing pass-through video become really low latency on the headsets. And we're only on Oculus Quest 2 and the Vive, the HTC, Vive Focus 3 just came out, and the resolution's getting better and it's getting more comfortable. And so, I think that when you look a few years into the future, within 5 years, and who knows what Apple's going to do with their rumored headset and augmented reality. And the technology is not going to be an issue. All of those problems are going to be solved in short order. In 3 to 5 years, nobody will be talking about the limitations of XR technology any more than you talk about the limitations of your cell phone anymore, right? When was the last time you said, oh, I wish my cell phone could do this? It does everything. And I think we're going to get there really quickly.
Just a short question, Bob, please. You have talked about possible addictions. Do you think, no, are there any dark sides of sports, VR sports?
Look, I don't see a lot of dark side to VR sports. I think that I love what Black Box is doing because they're taking that addiction piece and they're applying it to getting you healthy, where most companies that are in gaming are applying that to get you addicted and to spend more money and spend more time. And so I think that, I'm sure somebody will figure out a way to screw it up and create a dark side because everything has a shadow. Yeah. But I don't see anything apparent to me that's coming at us around VR sports or active VR or VR fitness that's negative. Like it feels like this is one of the areas that we're going to see this breakthrough and be overwhelmingly positive.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you again. I hope to see you next year in Laval, maybe.
The universe has conspired to keep us apart for a couple of years, so yeah. I look forward to being there in person next year. Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Thanks, Bob.
All right, cheers.